In this video, we are going to discuss how to estimate an addition and subtraction word problems using our for-look strategy. So, let's look at this problem. Mario scored 4,296 points on the video game, and Mike scored 8,686 points. About how many more points did Mike score than Mario? And you know that in our first notice that we notice who is our story about. And our story is about Mario and Mike. So we're going to go and highlight Mario and Mike in red. What is Mario and Mike doing? Well, they are playing video games, and Mario scores 4,296 points, and Mike scores 8,686 points. Oops. And we're supposed to notice the question about how many more points did Mike score than Mario? And I hope that as I am highlighting our question, oops, I'm struggling with highlighting, that you notice a very important word. And that word is about. And you have learned in our previous videos that when we see the word about, that means that we are going to estimate. And to estimate, the first step we need to do is round. All right, moving into our second notice, our second read through. Mario scored 4,296 points on the video game, and Mike scored 8,686 points. About how many more points did Mike score than Mario? And in a second look, we are to draw a model that represents our problem so we know how to solve our problem. But from our first notice, we notice the word about, and the about tells us to estimate, and to estimate, we have to round first. So the first things we're going to do is we're going to round our numbers. We're going to round 4,296 and 8,686, and we're going to round them to the thousands place. So the number that's in the thousands place in our first number is 4. So we're going to underline the 4. That's the number that we're rounding. We go next door and we circle the number next to it. And then we ask ourselves, is that number bigger, closer to 0 or closer to 10? And 2 is closer to 0. So 4 is going to tell 4 just to stay the same. So that becomes a 4, or stays a 4. And all the numbers behind it become a 0. So 4,296 rounds to 4,000. Now rounding 8,686, the number that's in the thousands place is the 8. We go next door and circle the number. We ask ourselves, the number that is circled, is that closer to 0 or closer to 10? And 6 is closer to 10. So 6 is actually going to tell 8 that he needs to go up 1. So 8 actually becomes a 9. So 8,686 rounds to 9,000. Now that we have rounded our numbers, we can draw our model. And looking at our question asks about how many more points did Mike score than Mario. We know in our story that Mike scores more points than Mario, but we want to know the difference between the two scores. And when we want to know the difference, we use a whole part model. And we know from past videos to fill in a whole part model, then we would place the larger number in the whole, the smaller number in the part, and we would subtract these two numbers to get our difference. So moving into our third notice, or our third read through, Mario scored 4,296 points on the video game, and Mike scored 8,686 points. About how many more points did Mike score than Mario? And we know that in the third notice is where we solve our problems and check it. And so from our model and our second notice, we know that we are subtracting because we used a whole part model. So we need to subtract 9,000, take away 4,000. And we talked about in our introduction video that the reason that we estimate is that it's quick and easy and it helps us to do mental math. Well, we could do mental math with this. All we need to do is subtract 4 from 9, which is 5. And 0 take away 0 is just 0. That was really quick. So the difference between the two scores is about 5,000 points. Well, we need to make sure that we did our calculations correctly. So we would do the opposite of subtracting, and that would be to add. And so we would add our 5,000 plus 4,000. Again, the benefit of estimating is quick and easy and helps us with mental math. So all we have to do is add 5 and 4, which is 9, and adding zeros. So I can see that our number here and our number here are the same. So our calculation is correct. The difference between Mike and Mario's score is 5,000 points. Now, on to our fourth and final look or notice. Mario scored 4,296 points on the video game, and Mike scored 8,686 points. About how many more points did Mike score than Mario? And in our fourth notice is where we summarize what steps we took to solve the problem. And if you're able to explain those steps, then you're able to show how your answer is reasonable. So in our first notice, Mario and Mike are playing video games. Mario scores 4,296 and Mike scores 8,686 points. And they want to know about how many points Mike scores more than Mario. And our second notice, because the question wanted to know an estimated amount because the word about, I rounded 4,296 to 4,000 and 8,686 to 9,000. I then drew a whole part model to show that I was going to subtract to know the estimated difference. And in our third notice, I subtracted 9,000 minus 4,000 to get the estimated difference between scores of 5,000. I then checked my calculation by adding 5,000 and 4,000 for a total of 9,000. And that is our final look.